Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. And today I wanted to share how my husband and I are able to save money on groceries. Obviously, buying groceries is a necessity and it's a major expense in most people's monthly budgets. It can definitely take some practice to cut down the amount of money that you spend every single month on groceries. And honestly, we don't do anything dramatic to save on groceries. I'm not like an extreme couponer or anything like that. I think that these are super realistic and practical tips for you to utilize to save money on groceries. So like I just mentioned, I'm not big into couponing or price matching or anything along those lines, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But I was a cashier for years and years and just dealt with so many disorganized people using coupons and stuff that it personally just kind of turned me off using them. And most of what we buy is like health food alternatives or organic food, and I find that stuff doesn't really go on sale, and I definitely never really see coupons for stuff like that anyway. I mean, there might be the odd time here or there that I find a good coupon, but that's not really something I utilize. But I'm still able to save money on groceries every month without couponing and without price matching. So the number one thing that I do is I shop from a list and I don't veer from my list. If I don't have a list on me, I try really hard to avoid going to the grocery store unless I can like come up with a list in my head. But I know that going into the grocery store without a list is just a recipe for disaster. And then when I have my list, I don't go up and down all the aisles. So if I don't need condiments or something, I don't go down that aisle. If I don't need frozen vegetables, I don't go down the frozen vegetable aisle. Because if I do, I'm definitely gonna find something that looks good or that maybe is on sale that I'm going to want to pick up, even though it's not something that I came to the store for. So my next tip is to keep your fridge tidy so that you have a pretty good idea of what's in there. And this doesn't mean that your fridge always has to be spotless. That's definitely not the case for me. Obviously my fridge gets messy from time to time, but I do really try to keep it tidy. I try to at least do a quick tidy or clean at least once a week to make sure that I know what's in it and make sure that things aren't getting pushed to the back, because I find that once a fridge gets messy, that's when you have a half-open can of tomato sauce or you have like 6 salad dressings that you don't even realize you have. So I always try to keep my fridge tidy, and then I always try to just do a quick look through my fridge and my pantry before going to the grocery store so that I'm not buying doubles or triples of things. The next thing that we do is we try to eat lots of plant-based options, and we definitely aren't fully vegetarian or vegan. Maybe sometime in the future we will be, but I have found that reducing the amount of meat that we eat has reduced our grocery bill significantly, and just substituting with things like beans and chickpeas and things like that. I honestly don't miss having meat in my meals, and I know everybody always says like, yeah, but my husband would miss it. Even if you just compromise and say once a week we're gonna do meatless Mondays or something, and I'm sure that he'll be fine. The next thing is that we don't eat prepared or packaged foods. And what I mean by this is I don't buy like pre-packaged salads or pre-made salads or little individual things of yogurt or individual things of guacamole, or just anything that comes in its own little package is going to be more expensive than buying it in a big package, and it's obviously going to create more waste, and I like to also reduce the waste in my foods. So if it's important to you to have smaller packaged things, maybe when you get home from the grocery store you can just spend an hour like dividing things up into containers, and that will definitely save you money because you're not paying for the extra packaging and the extra time and the extra money that goes into packaging those things ahead of time. This is likely going to be healthier too, as basically all pre-made meals are going to have like extra preservatives and extra ingredients that you wouldn't get if you're making those things yourself. So I honestly make almost everything from scratch. I don't buy any pre-made meals like freezer meals or anything like that. And I find a lot of people say that eating healthy is so much more expensive, and I really don't find that that's the case. And I think that this is the main reason, because I'm not buying pre-packaged salads or other like pre-made healthy foods, and that's where I find that you can spend so much money. Okay, and my next tip I actually think is one of the very most important tips, and that is to not waste food. So I've heard it said that the average American wastes 40% of the food that they bring into their home. And even if you're on the lower end of the spectrum, even if you're only at 10 or 20%, that's still a significant amount of food that you're purchasing and then just throwing in the garbage. So imagine you went to the grocery store, you bought $100 worth of food, and then you came home and immediately just threw 30 or 40% of it in the garbage. That would be so ridiculous. But basically that's what's happening. So I try so hard to reduce the amount of food that I'm wasting. This saves money, and it's obviously better for the environment because I'm not buying things and dealing with packaging and stuff that I'm not even eating. And one thing that will help to reduce the amount of waste that you produce with your food is to plan your meals ahead. And personally, I'm not really a fan of meal prepping. Lots of people love meal prepping. It's just not something that really works for me. I would much prefer to prep my meals and eat all my meals fresh. If meal prepping is something that you love, that's awesome. Definitely do that. I'm sure that would save you money. But even just meal planning, which is just like writing down 3 or 4 dinners that I'm going to eat throughout the week, I don't even necessarily assign them to a day, because if I schedule something for Monday and then something happens, I'm out later than normal, or I just don't feel like eating that thing on Monday, then I don't like my whole week being thrown off. And to be honest, I'm just like stubborn, and I don't really like the idea of deciding ahead of time what I'm going to eat. I like to be able to pick that the day of. But when I do my grocery shopping, I try to at least plan for 3 or 4 different dinners, and I'll buy the ingredients specifically for those things. And it's also super helpful to buy ingredients that overlap to different dinners, so that you're not buying an ingredient just for one meal and then you're gonna end up throwing the rest of that thing out. I really try to avoid one-time ingredients. So if I'm buying something that's kind of a one-time thing, I try to be mindful of using that, like how can I use that in another recipe in a few days, and that definitely helps to save money as well. And then obviously from time to time, something might start going bad in my fridge, or I notice that the end of my spinach is wilting, or my vegetables just aren't looking awesome and I probably wouldn't use them for a salad. So one of my favorite things to do in times like this is just make a big pot of soup, or you can make chili, or even like a stir fry would work. So instead of them going to waste, they're going towards something. Sometimes I'll even make a big batch of soup and then just freeze it right away, because maybe we don't really need the soup at that time for whatever reason. But that's such a good way to use up vegetables that otherwise might be about to go bad. I just always try to be aware of what's in my fridge and when it's going to expire, when I need to use it, because I absolutely despise throwing food in the garbage. It just feels so wasteful to me. So those are my practical tips on how to save money on groceries. If you have any other tips, I would love to read them below, and I'm sure that that would help other people out as well, so make sure to leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, as that really helps to just support my channel and ensure that more people see my content. And if you're new here, I would love if you could subscribe and stick around for a little while, and I will see you guys in my next video.